So, let's talk, you guys, because coming up, we have two of our fashion icons. Let's not get it twisted. One's created it, and the other one's let us know what it is for years, and we are so grateful for the both of these sisters. Actually, I had the privilege of checking out their documentary, I hope you have, on Netflix, called The Remix Hip Hop Times Fashion. It's amazing. Big ups to Misa for bringing Dapper Dan into the forefront. But let me tell you who they are if you don't know when I say Misa and Bevy, because they are one-namers. Misa Hilton is a Renaissance woman at the epicenter of fashion, music, and culture, with over 25 years conceiving the iconic styles of celebrities from Sean Love Combs to Mary J. Blige. And Miss Bevy Smith, oh, you already know. She is a pop culture aficionado, an icon, a fashion expert. She is the host of Sirius XM's Bevelations on Radio Andy, and her debut book, Bevelations, Lessons from Rumma Mother. Wait, am I saying this right? Rumma Mother, Auntie, and Bestie is out right now. Saw that press junket. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody at home, give it up for our icons, Misa and Bevy. No last names needed.
Hello. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, ladies. Look at, yeah, take your time. This is, the fashion panel, so we need to look at you.
Right. Oh.
Yes, all that.
Yeah, I should have on my Misa dress, but I'm wearing that tomorrow. When you come and buy my book, I'm selling it at the block party. I'll be having on my Misa Hilton exclusive from Macy's. You can buy it right now.
Say word.
Macy's Inc.
So wait, okay, I'm going to get into it, but hold on. You might as well tell us what's up. Misa, so you have a Macy's deal? Talk about it.
I have a collaboration with INC, and it's available in Macy's right now. And these are two pieces from my collection, my summer collection.
Girl,
Wait, is this from the summer collection? I didn't see that.
Okay, we all know INC, and let me just tell you that we are really happy for these upgrades, right, ladies? I'm just saying.
It's a good upgrade, too.
A fabulous upgrade.
Yeah. No, and you know what? I just have to say, because this is my sister. I love her. I've known her since she was 17 years old. Mm-hmm. She's always been a creative. She's always been a visionary. And, what she has done for hip-hop and for the intersection of hip-hop and fashion has really been revolutionary. And I'm so glad that finally the naysayers and the powers that be have really started to understand that and to really take it into its proper context, which is she deserves all the flowers, but also, more importantly, all the coins. Yes. Okay. Yes. And she's receiving that now, and it's lovely to see, and I just love her so. And we've like I said, we've known each other for a long time, and like when I'll never forget one year she came over to Milan with Missy. And I had been going over to Milan and Paris for a couple of years, but when her and Missy came on the scene, first of all, of course, Missy, an iconic visionary as far as music goes. So, but people didn't know Misa because a stylist back then was not known like they are now. Mm-hmm. Baby, when Miss Misa came up in them fashion shows with them over-the-knee, flamboyant colored boots and the furs that matched and all of it and hot pants, they didn't know. Them Italians didn't even know what to do with themselves. They were gobstopped, and they would be like, Beverly, who is she? And I'd be like, oh, that's my girl Misa. She just fly all day for no reason. You know what I mean? But so, yeah, I just wanted to give you a props and tell you how much
Bev,
I love you.
I love you so much.
Can we talk real quick? I'm going to go totally off script because, first of all, I already said to the ladies, they can have a whole conversation by themselves. I'm just here as the lifeguard to make sure nobody, drowns or anything. But can we talk about this relationship and how it first began and when it began? I need to know.
Now, I'm going to let Misa, because she may not want to tell, Go
ahead, you tell it.
No, you tell it.
We met when I was 17 years old. I was dating Sean Combs at the time.
Perhaps you guys know him as Puffy.
We remember them pigtails in that video.
Yes. And so I would hang out with him and be at all the cool spots. And I got to meet some real cool, fly, legendary people like Bevy, and we clicked right away. I was really quiet back then, and to myself, because I just got pushed into this big world, and I was outside, and I was at all the places that were popping, and I was hanging out with Puff, and so Bevy would be there all the time. She used to dance still does. She was dancing her ass off. She used to have on the sexy clothes. She was just like a brick house, and her energy was just so attracting. And so that's how we met. That's what I remember.
Yes, that's exactly it. And, you know, it was just one of those things. It's like, you know, and what I would love to say about that is that, you know, I love to support young women. And when Mise came on the scene, because Puff is older than her, so there were a lot of women that were outside that were envious of Misa and wanted to hate on her. But I was like, she's a beautiful young lady. She never hurts anyone. She's always cordial, always lovely. Why wouldn't we be nice to her? Like, she's a young girl. Like, we, you know, we're like 23-year-old women. Like, why are we hating on this? You know, she was a baby. And so I was always the type to take people under my wing and everything. And she didn't need no guidance from me. But one of the things I always remember, too, is like when you start coming into your own, and I would see you at Pat Fields, which is Pat Fields is an amazing, amazing costume designer. She did Sex and the City, and she used to have a store on 8th Street. And 8th Street in New York City was a place to shop, right? Yes. And we would all go there because Pat had avant-garde stuff.
Yes. One-of-a-kind pieces.
And so I'll never forget when I first started seeing Misa come to Pat Fields. I was like, okay, Misa. Okay. And then I realized that she wasn't just coming there for herself. She was actually behind the scenes working. She was styling. And that gives us a lovely segue into her early days of styling Jodeci and all those folks and Uptown Records.
So talk about that, Misa, first gigs and when you figured out that this is what I want to do.
Yes, so as I said, I was dating Puff, and he had just went from intern to A&R, and he was in charge of the music, sound, vision for Jodeci. And I was there at the right place at the right time. I was always into fashion, a natural creative. And I just jumped in. I was his assistant. I was his driver. I was his everything, you know, and I was supporting, you know, everything that he was a part of. And so when it came time for him to create their look, I was his backup. You know, I was there to support bringing that vision to life. And I actually he brought me into a meeting with the late Andre Harrell to actually sell the look to Dre. And because he didn't feel like he could do it, you know, he wanted the backup of the support. And it ain't nothing wrong with being nobody's backup and support. Always remember that. Wrong. And so I went into that meeting, and you know, we had to sell this crazy idea at the time for R&B singers singing about love and have my baby and all that kind of stuff. We had to sell a look that appeared to be more like what a rapper should look like. So that was, you know, hoodie, sweatshirts, baseball caps to the back, and combat boots. And Andre was like, hell no. Like, he was like
wearing his suit, because he wearing a suit.
Right. You know, and you know, after about 2 hours, we were ready to, you know, after 2 hours, we convinced Andre, and he let us get that opportunity, and the rest is history. But that was my start. And the first music video I worked on was Gotta Love for Jodeci.
Wow. I got to say, I interviewed Boyz II Men once, and they said they were always envious that Jodeci got to look and rock the look that they got. Because, you know, if you know the Boyz II Men, they are Jodeci, who Jodeci is on the outside, on the inside, but they never could do that. So let's talk about you, Bevy, because I want to know, too, what was your entry into this world, and when did you decide this is what I want to do, and I can do it and make some money?
Well, you know, I come from Harlem, and Harlem has an amazing, rich legacy when it comes to style. You know, we all know the Harlem Renaissance. And when you think about that, and when you think about the photographs of James Van Der Zee from the Harlem Renaissance period, and even if you think about, you know, Cameron wearing an entire pink outfit, including the pink flip phone, and now modern days, you think about A$AP Rocky, or you think about Tiana Taylor. That's still Harlem. That's Harlem's legacy. And so, for me, I mean, style has always just been innate. You know, it's not something that one ever really has to think that much about. And I think Misa will agree that, like, you know, so much of what we've been paid to do, especially during our early days of catching checks, it was just something we're like, wait, we can get a check for this?
Yeah.
Because this is just what we do. You know what I mean? This is just how we live, we breathe it. And so when I got my opportunity to go and work at a luxury fashion advertising agency, and I was a receptionist, so I'm at the bottom rung. But the thing that really made me stand out is that I was incredibly well read, because this is like in the 80s, so there's no computers. So you're like literally a receptionist and you're reading books. And I would be reading like Tennessee Williams, or I would be reading James Baldwin or Eudora Welty or, you know, Ralph Ellison or something. And they'd be like, you know, and an entirely white company, they'd be like, well, you're a curious person. And I was also very well dressed because, again, Harlem. But the interesting thing about that whole era is that I would go to work in like my proper office attire, and then I would get off work and I would run uptown, change into like some kind of like spandex dress. And by the way, I want to go on record as saying I was the first girl in my block to wear a spandex dress.
That you were.
Ever.
Yes.
And so much so that everyone was like, oh my God, Bev, you got to take me shopping again. So I was like a junior stylist. You know, back then, you didn't even know. Like, if your friends liked what you wore, they were like, take me, put me together. And we didn't know that that was called styling. But we, you know what I mean? But I would
I was going to ask you guys that because I was like, were there stylists before Misa and y'all?
No, but there were, obviously, but we didn't know that.
We didn't know
Right.
that.
Were they didn't look like us? Did they look like us?
No. Well, there were people that were doing that work, but we weren't aware of them because, again, you got to think about it. Back then, people that were in the business of fashion is very insular, and they weren't celebrities, and they were background players, and so it was a very interesting dichotomy to what we have now. But I would run uptown, put on my dress, and go up to Rucker. And at the time, I was dating a very influential, what they would call an independent street pharmaceutical executive. An executive. So I would run uptown, honey, and put on my Versace or what have you and everything, and be like, what happened? I would go up to Rucker, and I'll never forget. My guy, who, you know, as I mentioned, was an independent executive businessman, he did so well for himself, and he was one of the sponsors of Rucker. And so when I would come, he would stop the game so I could walk onto the, like, court to take my seat. And they would call me his name. They'd be like, they go miss ... I'm not giving him no grace. So he will not get any grace, but like, you know, it was from that era. And then, of course, so I had this amazing, very stylish career. You know, I'm a receptionist at an agency that does Block Llama Mink. So what becomes a legend most? So if Donna Ross comes into the office, draped in a Block Llama Mink, or Cher, or like all these iconic people, right? And Brooke Shields was a client. And Brooke Shields and I are the same age. And so we would sit in the reception area when her mom was like doing business in the back, and she would sit in the reception area with me, and we would gab like little girls because we were both like 18 years old. And it was just crazy. And then from there, I got these really great mentors, white. And one of them is by the name of Kenny Valenti. He has the largest, still to this day, one of the largest vintage couturier collections in the world. And he's the one who gave me the real hardcore knowledge. So if you ever see me on like a Good Morning America discussing fashion, it's a very different conversation than when I'm on Wendy. Because Good Morning America, they don't want the kikis and the cackles. They want you to have the references and the history. And so that I'm able to do that work because of my mentor, Kenny Valenti. I'm able to do the cackles and the kikis because, you know, I'm from Harlem. So, you know, it's been the best of both worlds kind of thing. But, yeah, so that's how I really got my start. And I just, and then my mentor, Jeff McKay, continually gave me opportunities. And he opened so many doors for me. And doors that to this day I'm still walking through because of someone who gave me an opportunity when I was 18 years old. So
mentors are so important.
Yeah, and he didn't even look like me, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, which is even more beautiful. Let me ask you guys this. What was the moment in your careers where you knew that you had changed or put the culture on to something? Because I know you guys serve two different roles in this thing. So I want to say change the culture and put the culture on to something that you never knew would have blown up and, you know, been credited back to you. Like, what was your moment, Misa?
Misa, you've had so many.
Yeah. The first one. I said the first one.
The first one I didn't realize, my work with Jodeci and Mary on her first album, because I was just like in this bubble.
That was the 411 kind of changed everything. Misa.
Yep. But when I really realized, like, oh, I do this, it was Little Kim.
Yes.
Oh,
I was
Crush
like,
on You?
I do this.
You did that.
I do this.
Yes.
You talking about Crush on You?
Just
period. Just her period.
Yeah.
From the rooter to the tuber.
Yes.
From the rooter to the tuber.
Yeah.
Favorite look? The look that really...
I don't have favorites.
You don't have a favorite Kim look? Not even a Kim? Not even... You're not going to give me Grammys?
I love everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what video did you have the most fun? I'm sorry.
No. Come on, ladies. Come on, sis. I told you. I'm just here to lifeguard. Come on.
What video did you have the most fun
with her? With Kim? Every video was fun. I would say Crush on You, No Matter What People Say. Those were really 2 fun moments. No Matter What People Say, Mary was in the video. Missy, remember, in the closet, and they were trying on clothes and having a good time. I was in there, too, by the way. It was. Yeah, like in the back. But, yeah, those 2 were really fun.
And the great thing about what you guys did in that era was that it was really girls' power without it being said, which I think is very important to indicate. Like, you know, what's understood does not need to be said. And so you didn't need to say it was girl power. You didn't need to say I'm a girl boss. None of that.
Nothing.
It just was what it was. You know what I mean? And there was a keen understanding amongst the crew that this is what we're going to do.
Oh, and amongst the people watching you, we saw sisterhood.
Yes.
Don't get it twisted. Yes. Bevy, you didn't answer your question.
What was my question?
That moment when you knew that you had affected the culture. Your first moment.
Shoot.
Yeah.
I think for me, when I was at Vibe and I was the fashion and beauty advertising director, I really made my bones in Europe, and I was really heavily lauded, and I had a lot of people from all the big mainstream magazines looking at me and wanting me to come and work for them. And this is like the 90s and the early 2000s. So right now we have Virgil Ablohs and we have all these black fashion editors and things like that. When I was doing all this work, it didn't exist. Like Misa will tell you, when she came to Milan, it was like 5 black people on the front row. And it was like 2 of them was her and Missy. I mean, it literally wasn't the landscape that we see today. But because I was so respected in that space, when I went to Rolling Stone magazine, and by the way, they came and pursued me, and they offered me a very lovely, lovely, lovely check. And I remember when I got that job, the community was like, we made it.
Yeah.
Everyone felt like they wanted, they were a part of it.
We did.
You know what I mean? Because, you know, coming from Vibe, obviously we're shaping the culture, we're doing all this, we're moving it all forward. But you could never, ever underestimate the fact that Rolling Stone magazine was the first ever music magazine that was global. True. And it was the largest music magazine, and it might still be at this point. So for them to have someone who is a black girl from Harlem, who is very black identified, you know, because, you know, sometimes you could be black, but you could be real palatable. And I'm going to come through with all the blackness.
Yes, you are.
I'm going to come through with it. But for them to hire me, and I'll give you guys a really funny little story. So when I got the job at Rolling Stone, by the way, I didn't even want the job. And this is all in my book, Bevelations, Lessons from My Mother, Auntie Bessie, which will be on sale tomorrow at the block party. Please come through and buy it, and I'll be signing books. Thank you. But anyway, so when they pursued me, and I got the gig, and I had to go and see HR. And so, you know, you're filling out all your paperwork, and they're like, oh, you didn't put down when you graduated from NYU. And I said, oh, I didn't graduate from NYU. And they said, well, where did you graduate from? I said, I didn't graduate. And they said, well, this job requires a 4-year degree. And I was like, well, I don't have that. And they said, well, you know, the job requires that. I said, well, I don't have that. So we were at a bit of a standstill. And then I finally kind of ruptured the standstill by simply telling them, you guys should call the publisher. And ask him if I'm required to have a 4-year degree for this job. I never heard from HR ever again. And I went on to do the job. I never heard from them again. Yeah. So that was when I knew it, like, you know, I really kind of cracked the code.
Rolling Stone.
Yeah, and then I got the hell out of Dodge after that.
I was about to say, that wasn't long. That was
No. I had enough.
But you was there, so...
I was there, darling. I did everything I came to do. I slayed, and I got paid.
Yes. Let's take that advice. That's a mantra.
Well, that's a Misa and Bevy mantra. We slay and then we get paid. I mean, it is what it is, right? And the thing, and I just want to say something too about to all the ladies who are watching this, and I'm speaking specifically to the ladies because I think a lot of times women have a hard time demanding their worth.
Yes. Oh.
Misa, okay. Misa, can you tell them about how you don't play about your coins?
I don't play.
Okay, can you teach us? Yes, tell us about how you don't play when you stop playing and how you don't not play, please.
I don't, because I know my worth and I know what I'm bringing to the table, and I'm very clear. And if you have me here and you're having a conversation with me, you must know too. And if you don't, then you will learn today.
Okay.
And Misa, also keep it real though. That's a journey. How long did it take for you to get there?
Well, as I said, my start was under Andre Harrell and Puff Daddy.
Okay.
So I had all the modeling needed. And to take it back even further, my parents are very confident and strong people. So I grew up around people who spoke their mind, that were honest, that were matter of fact, and it is what it is. And so I saw that growing up. So that was a great, they were great role models for me to be able to enter into a business where I had to, exude that as well and live that. So.
Speaking of growing up, I wanted to ask you guys this question because we are talking about the intersection of fashion and black music. And I wanted to ask you guys, what was the first time you saw that intersection in your life where you were like, wow, this is it. And I think I want to do this. Like, what was the first intersection? Who was the artist? Or the moment?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, thank God.
Who was the artist or the moment?
Yes.
Again, you know what? I don't know. I think probably Misa feels the same way. When you fall into things, when you're just like minding your business, doing what you do, breathing, literally just breathing and minding your business, and people tap you and give you opportunities. I think, like, especially, I can speak for myself in a very confident way that I never even sought out this career, but I was smart enough to understand when people gave me an opportunity that looked really good, I should take it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just like,
Yes.
I should probably do this. They want me.
Yep.
They're offering me this.
Yep.
I should probably partake.
Yeah.
Right?
Same. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was also asking as far as influence, though, like, as far as the icons in our life, like, what was the moment that you saw? I don't know. I'm thinking the first thing that came to my head. There we go.
Donna Ross is a very clear moment for me. My brother, who's 11 years older than I am, a gay man, he loved and worshipped Donna Ross and the Supreme. So she was always a very constant style icon in my household. My mother herself was a style icon. I talk about in my book that the barmaids, I am still chasing my inner barmaid at all times. In my life, I am a barmaid. Anytime you see me host anything, I'm taking everything that I ever saw a Harlem barmaid give.
Oh, wow.
They are connectors. They are fly. They are philanthropists. Like, you think about the women in your community. If you grew up in a black community, you think about the women that ran businesses. They oftentimes were philanthropists. They oftentimes were people that connected the dots. They oftentimes had style beyond measure. And so a lot of my kind of idea about what a beautiful woman is or what a stylish woman is comes from my street sensibility. It comes from those barmaids I saw growing up in the 1970s and the 1980s. Donna Ross, though, is a more kind of magnified version of that, like a more like, ooh, elegance. Someone that I love too, like especially as I got older, because I started to really understand what she was able to do. Pearl Bailey, wow, her chocolate little beautiful face, and her shape. She wasn't, and it's so interesting because when you watch Pearl Bailey movies today, she was the comic foil, and she was never the romantic lead, but she's a beautiful woman. Like, if you look at pictures of her, she's a beautiful woman. I know Queen Latifah is allegedly working on the Pearl Bailey biopic, and I hope that happens because people need to know who she is, especially since we're here at the National Museum of African American Music. People need to know who people like Pearl Bailey are and Ethel Waters and different folks like that. But I think about those grand dames, even Ella Fitzgerald, whose birthday was a couple of days ago. You know, Ella Fitzgerald, and she was a larger woman, but she was always impeccably turned out. Sassy Sarah Vaughan, another one. The women from those eras, they knew how to put themselves together. And so, yeah, those are the kind of like, I like those gritty broads. Give me a gritty broad. You know, I like a woman with a chick with a story.
Yes.
Somewhere in between Pearl Bailey and Ma Rainey, but not quite,
exactly, exactly. I like a chick with a story.
Right.
Me and Misa are chicks with stories.
Yes, y'all are.
And Misa's book is coming out, y'all. Now, y'all
There's
already
a book
know.
too? And a clothes. Okay, let's go, Misa. Okay, so first of all, can you answer and tell us?
Okay, so what it was like, who influenced me?
Yeah, I was saying when we're talking about
Style-wise.
intersection of fashion and music, and I was like, what was the first intersection for you that you were like, yeah, that's it?
My first influence were the women in my life. My mother and her sisters, my aunties. My mother's the oldest, so my aunts were like my big sisters. And my youngest aunt was all the way hip hop outside B-girl. So she would have to be my first style influence. And the women in my community, the people that I saw outside in the hood, on the streets were the runway for me. And so it were those women and the people in my community in black fashion that influenced me.
Have you guys gotten a chance to walk around and look at the museum yet?
I did.
I haven't, not yet.
Because I was going to ask you guys, it's funny that I was thinking if you two could curate an exhibit about hip hop fashion, what would it look like, and what pieces would y'all include that the world needs to recognize?
Well, the world is already recognizing Lil' Kim's outfit from the MTV. Was it MTV?
Yeah.
That was MTV Music Awards, where Donna Ross actually flicked her boob with the pasty. So the world's already recognized that, but that's something that I would love to see in the museum. It belongs in the museum for sure, and it belongs here. I think the Crush on You video, all of the montage of the looks, just sickening. I remember when I saw that, I was just like, why are they bringing the Wiz back to life?
Yes!
Why are they doing
be
that?
called
What are
dead
they
in red.
doing right now?
Yes.
Like, what are they doing? They're insane. I just couldn't even understand what was happening.
Damn, I wonder if they knew that, Bevy. That was kind of genius. Y'all,
That was
it was
that was inspiration.
it was intentional.
It was intentional. You think that was a mistake, the Wiz? They was like, we gonna do, you got to be seen in green, bold, and gold.
Yes.
I know, listen. Misa was intentional with that.
Yes.
I would also love to see the early days of hip hop, because a lot of people don't
That's what I
realize
was gonna
that
say, yeah.
the really early days of hip hop, those guys were dressing like cowboys and Indians with like a village people flair. I would love to see like the Flash and the Furious 5 costumes, because they were so insane. And no one wanted to look like them in the streets, by the way. No one was trying to go for that look. It wasn't until Run DMC came along and they mirrored what they were seeing outside. You know, they brought the Adidas shell toe and, you know, and the like Lee jeans that were tight but like sag.
I'm so glad
and
you
all
said
that kind
this
of stuff.
in retrospect, and we think about those like Melly Mel videos and stuff, and you're like,
Oh yeah,
they was walking down the
they
street
were
like that.
bonkers. The fur hanging off, the leather jackets, the berets. It's like, what is going on? It's like Pirates of the Caribbean meets the Warriors meets. I mean, it was just, but it's an extravaganza.
Yes.
It was a pure extravaganza.
Yes.
And that's creativity.
Yes.
And that's them wanting, probably living out some kind of fantasy in their heads. You know what I mean?
Word.
I love a good fantasy.
Right, of course.
Okay, Misa, you're curating this exhibit.
Yes. Misa, what about you? What
Yeah.
you want
I would love to see that era. I would love to see the street pharmaceutical era.
Yes.
It's over.
Or the executives of that time.
Yes.
And the
Well,
Dapper
that's all
Dan.
that.
Yeah, Dapper Dan. Yes. I would love to see that included. I would love to see female rappers highlighted that don't always get the recognition, because there's so many that were actually, to your last question, that were my influence as well, like Roxanne Shante, Pebbly Pooh, you know.
Schooling us now. Okay.
Yeah. But I would just like to see that as far back as we could go. I want to start there, all the way up until now, till presently. Yeah.
On that note, can y'all talk about this amazing project that you guys were a part of together? Misa, did you produce the remix?
I wish.
You were all... Lisa? I know Lisa Cortez as well. I just thought it was a number of other ones. All praise due to Lisa Cortez,
and Farrah X.
New York's own, Def Jam, listen, all that, okay? Oscar Award winner.
Lisa Cortez and Farrah X.
Yes. Okay, so can you talk about, though, that doing this project and what it meant for y'all to be a part of this project, what it meant for you to have these conversations with Dapper Dan and bring him to this project? And it's Netflix, so now the world understands. Like, just talk about it for me.
I mean, for me, it was truly a magical moment. I like to be behind the scenes, not necessarily in front of the camera, so it was very different for me. And I have never shared my story and my journey in that way, where I knew it was going to reach so many people. So that just having that opportunity to share it and set the record straight on so many things, and to share what I've, contributed to fashion, it was like a gift from God, to be able to have the platform to do that. And then to be amongst April Walker and Dapper Dan and Bev and Kirby Jean Raymond and everyone in there, and we all got to share our story and what we've contributed and what motivates us, the ups and downs, the struggles, the triumphs. And it was really a beautiful moment for me. And for me, though, it was very different, because being in front of the camera like that, I was like, oh, gosh.
But you were so beautiful and radiant in front of the camera.
Thank
you.
Your
honesty and your vulnerability was just astounding. Like, when you go into the story about how you had really rough financial times, that was
Let me tell you about that. One day I woke up, God said, you got to tell him. I said, hell no, I can't do that, because I've always been very, very private, and something like that, I really would have never wanted everyone to know about it. So I'm obedient. It came into my spirit. I called the meeting with Farrah and Lisa, Emil, Emil too, Emil Wilbekin. We cannot forget Emil, because Emil brought me in. Yes, and so I called the meeting and I shared with them my story, which was I had a financial hardship, really a complete breakdown, where I had to give up my house, and I was in a struggle so that I could sacrifice to keep my children in college and to keep my Misa Hilton Fashion Academy afloat. So I shared that in the document. I shared that. They were crying and stuff. I was like, oh, God, it's okay. I'm all right. Like, everything's good. I got through that time. And they were, very moved and touched by me sharing that. And we decided collectively that I would share that in the story. And I knew that it was important for me to do that, because there's so many people that go through that. And it's not anything to be ashamed about or embarrassed. It's real. And it happens every day. And it's not about, those valleys. It's about getting back up. It's about staying the course. It's about continuing to believe in yourself. And so that's what I did. And I shared that. And so being that vulnerable was something very different for me. I grew up in a time in this industry when Wendy Williams was on the radio every single day talking about me, Puffy, Mary, Kim. I mean, like the early 90s, it was just terrible. I wasn't used to that. So we all became very private and very, we didn't want to share a lot about what we went through, me and my good sisters, my good girlfriends. And so that was something that I shared, because I was the past, and I made a decision that I would continue to share in that way of honesty and vulnerability, because it helps other people, and it helps other people know if I did it, you could do it too.
Yes, indeed.
We're all learning that lesson, I feel like, especially currently. We've been holding for years, I don't know, generations, we've been holding back certain feelings because we need to be strong. You need to see us as the strongest thing ever, but no, we need to see you fall sometimes, because you're a whole human being, and we all relate.
That's right, yeah. That's right.
And I think that was just one of the more beautiful parts of a very beautiful project. Yes. And I was very honored to be a part of it. As Misa mentioned, one of the other producers was Emil Wilbekin, who was my partner in crime at Vibe magazine. He was the fashion director when I initially got to Vibe, and by the time I left, he was the editor-in-chief. And we tore up Europe, really bagging all of the high-end fashion advertising, and what we were able to do really did put hip-hop fashion on the map, because we let them see that not only were we meant to wear this, we would wear it much better than you could have ever shown it on the runway.
That's right.
We're about to remix this whole entire look. Yes. And you're about to gag, darling. And you know what I mean? And, of course, now you see it play out everywhere. Shout out to Dap, who is you know, I think, you know, everybody's father who, if you come through hip-hop fashion, he is the father of all of this. I mean, he's the father of Logomania.
Yes.
He does not get the props that he should for really literally creating Logomania. Before that, there was no luxury brand that ever thought to put their logos on clothes, on you know, on inanimate objects. Like, you know, you see all these, you know, Supreme collaborations and all these, like, you know, Dior doing, like, you know, cups and, you know, all this stuff. And, honey, Dap was doing that back then. And guess what? He was targeted and he was, you know, he was made to go underground. And now, of course, they're all doing it. They're making hundreds of millions of dollars. And I want to say this, too, especially because this is going streaming out into the world. I want to say this. When Misa's collaboration came out at Macy's, Misa was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to send you something. I said, girl, nice for you to send me something, but I'm buying. And we have to do that. And I bought 4 pieces of her collection. Now, maybe you had, what, 8 pieces in the collection? I bought half the damn collection.
So it's
because that's my
out?
sister.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to Macy's. Okay. Y'all gonna make us go to Macy's
which
today.
I didn't see this.
Yeah. No, I want that. I want that.
Okay. She ain't called me about the
I
second
mean, the
drop.
exact thing.
Because I would have been like, okay, girl, get no the exact thing. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
But we have to stop letting them digest and then regurgitate our culture back to us at a very high price. We have to stop doing that. We have to stop it. It hurt my spirit to see so many of us clamoring for that Dior Nike sneaker because that is nothing. Dap did that.
Yep.
Eons ago. You can do that. Go and buy a Dior bag, cut it out, and put it on. Put the swoosh there. Do that. I would rather see you do that. Who was it, Misa, who did the dollar sign things? Was it Balenciaga?
Yes, Balenciaga.
Okay, so Misa can tell you on 125th Street in the 90s, all we had was $100 bill T-shirts. On the street, vendors were selling that. Please know that that was not they didn't just create that in their minds. They hone in, they mine all of our creativity. Then they go into their into their laboratories. And here's the thing that offends me. They don't even make it better.
No, they don't.
You're paying thousands of dollars for cotton. Now I'm about to read everybody fulfilled. Okay, because it's a sickening thing. I could see if they were then making it out of alpaca, you know, 1 million ply cashmere, you know, the finest silks that you can only find from, you know, worms that were mined in China 1 million years ago. They're not doing that. It's cotton, y'all. And yet they're charging us thousands of dollars for it. And I resent
That's a mentality
that.
thing. That's
because it's our designs, it's our aesthetic.
Yes.
So guess what? Buy from Misa.
Yes.
There's 4 or 5 other collaborators at Macy's, right?
Zarina, Black Circus, Alan Onaya, and Amina Jalil.
And then Kimberly Golson, who made my gown when I went to Met Gala 2019, she's at Saks Fifth Avenue. And then, what's the lovely...
Brooklyn Circus, I'm sorry.
Brooklyn Circus.
Ooh,
and then what's the lovely young woman, Fee Noel, is at Bloomingdale's.
Put us on, y'all, because when we know better, we do better.
Yeah, start finding your black designers and seeking them out. I really cannot stress that enough. Because it's really, we do ourselves such a disservice. We let them take our aesthetic. It's the hood aesthetic. It's every Harlem, it's every ghetto's 125th Street that you're going to see some vendor selling it. And then they're going to put their label in it and then sell it back to you? Where are they doing that at? And why are we participating in that? That's not to say, I love luxury clothes. I love luxury fashion. But please believe, if I'm spending $2,000 on a designer dress, it is going to be of an incredible fabric, and it's going to have a cut, and it's going to have details, it's going to have the moments. It's not going to be a damn cotton T-shirt dress that say blah, blah, blah on the front. No, ma'am.
I'm so curious if these labels, because I know they hear you. I know they, because you ain't got no problem saying this in any space at all.
I've done so many of these conversations. Like, I'm friends to the House of Gucci, so I said this in front of them. I just did a conversation during the pandemic with Virgil Abloh of Vuitton, the first black designer for Louis Vuitton. And I had these so I say this stuff. I don't bite my tongue because honestly, I don't even really do fashion like that anymore. So now I'm just like, I can do it with my eyes closed. And so I love it when people invite me to things, but I do TV and such. I do TV and radio and such. I'm a media personality, darling. So, they can't do nothing to me.
I mean, that is so much more, though, Bevy. Not just a media personality,
No, but I have that freedom.
A whole icon, boo.
And, so I try and, use my voice and use my power for good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we need to do more of that. And as you can see from Misa's look, it's fabulous. It's flawless. And the price point is impeccable.
Mm-hmm. Do y'all know that I feel like people are also kind of waiting for y'all to do something together? I know, Bevy, how many people have been like, it's time for you to design, especially for the women who are blessed up front, because nobody rocks it like you do.
I have so much respect for fashion designers that I wouldn't. I really can't. I do. I am working on a big busty bra line.
Oh, okay.
Big busty bra line.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How far is it? How many letters? What the letter going to? What the letter going to? Cause,
I'm a double G, so it at least.
Okay, because I know it gets expensive after double D.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
It's going to be very expensive.
Sorry,
I
fellas.
won't lie to
Education.
I won't lie to you. It won't be cheap. You will have to spend the coins with your big busty bra. But I will say, your girls will sit up lovely.
Yes.
Because there's nothing worse than a big tit that's hanging down to your navel.
Ooh, you are speaking my gospel. And use a sleep bra. Okay.
Yeah, you always need a little bra.
Yes. All right. Well, I don't want to hold you ladies too long. I wanted to make sure that you got out. Also, what's going on with you right now? Okay, we know the book, but everything else, please just list all the things that we need to know about you.
Okay, so let me just tell you guys.
Yes.
So in my book, Revelations, Lessons from a Mother, Auntie Bessie, I'm talking about the fact that when the pandemic happened, also when I left my last TV show, Page 6 TV, which was nationally syndicated, which should have been the greatest moment, because when you do TV, you want to syndicate a TV show because that means all of America can see you, and they don't need cable or anything. They just need to turn on their TV and have rabbit ears, and they can see you. So it's a really big deal to get on a syndicated show, and we had 2.5 years of that. But I have to tell you, it was a very bad moment for me, and Miss Misa, I'm sure you understand, when you get something that you think everyone else around you thinks is like, oh my gosh, you have to do that. That's the best thing ever. And then you and your spirit are like, I don't know. And then you do it anyway because public opinion is like, you should. And then you get there and it's like, I should have listened to my spirit. And that's where I was at with it. So when that show ended, I went to my agents and I was like, I don't really want to run back into trying to get another TV show as a host. I feel like between Bravo's Fashion Queens and I feel like between what I did on Page 6 TV and what I do on the Wendy Styles Squad show and all that kind of stuff, I feel like I've done that and everyone knows I can do that, and I wanted to exercise some new muscles. So coming up this fall, there's going to be a movie on Apple TV where I did the art curation. I actually did the art that's going to be in the film. I selected it, and I secured the deal so that it could appear in the film because I'm passionate about art and architecture. That's something a lot of people don't know about me, but I'm passionate about those things. So I'm super excited about that. And it's starring an Oscar winner, a 2-time Oscar winner. And, I did the art for that. Okay. And then earlier this year, I did my first acting gig, and that is on an Amazon show. So I'm actress Bevy. So anyone who's out there who's like a producer or a director or a casting agent, I am acting now. I went in, I was supposed to have 3 lines. I did so well, they called me back for a second scene. I did so well, they called me back for a 3rd scene. Nice. And so hopefully the show gets picked up, and then maybe I can become, a recurring, guest and well, not even a guest, a regular, what I mean? It's just like, okay.
I can't see it. You're not dramatic at all.
I'm not dramatic at all. You can't see it. So I'm really excited about those things. So it's always now next nude.
Yep.
Right? We don't rest on our laurels.
No.
Yes.
Ever.
Nope.
Go ahead, Mace. Tell them what you're doing.
So I have my Macy's collection in stores now. We're on the spring drop. We have a fall drop coming late July. Thank you.
And I have to tell you, it sells out very fast.
Very quickly.
Do not play yourself.
Yeah,
Don't play yourself.
This ain't gonna be like Beyonce Adidas, is it?
It's not that bad, but honestly, when Misa tells you that it drops that day, just go on.
Okay, well, what is it so we can put it in our calendar? Oh, I got my, what's the calendar?
It's in stores right now.
Okay.
And then
Well,
I will post, when the fall
July.
becomes available. I'm also doing a jewelry collaboration with INC as well, which will be for the fall. Just like you, I went in to do these 3, and then they pulled me in. Like, do you want to do jewelry, accessories? I said, absolutely. That's my thing.
Right, exactly.
All about the details. I love accessories. So, yes, I have that coming as well. I have my Misa Hilton Fashion Academy, which is an adult program for fashion styling courses. We have fashion styling, streetwear, business of fashion, and fashion technology. We have a junior fashion camp this July. If you know any young people in high school, the camp is free. We are the recipients of the Gucci Changemakers Award. And so we're looking for young people to come to the camp who are interested in a career in fashion. So spread the word on that. And I just got off the plane yesterday from styling a video directed by my good friend Missy Elliott, her directorial debut for the City Girls Twerkulator. So you already know.
Yes. Already know.
Yeah. So I'm still designing mostly, teaching, educating, mentoring, and my career and my life gift to the world has been through creativity and through bringing a piece of me to everyone, my experiences, my art, my fashion, and that's what I continue to do any place I can do it.
Everywhere that you go.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you, ladies.
And I just want to say this really quick, because this is my number one revelation, it's my number one mantra. It gets greater later. Yes, thank you, my sis. Because it really does. And I think that Misa and I are living embodiments of that. We're testimonies to that. And I want everyone to understand, I changed my career when I was 38 years old. I changed my life. And Misa has had how many reincarnations? And now, she's a beautiful, very, very young-looking, tender woman. But she's a seasoned grown woman at this point, and she's having yet another renaissance in her career. So to everyone out there, that if you're itching to do something, if that's in your spirit, if it's been in your spirit for 20 years or 10 years or maybe even 5 years, something that just came up, please don't ignore that.
Yes,
do
you
it.
Can. And you got to trust that your creativity and your gift, whatever it is going to take you to a place worth going. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to trust that feeling and just keep putting one foot in front of the other, showing up. Yeah. Don't be scared. Don't think you're not good enough. If you're very different than other people, don't listen to what people say or put in your head. You got to trust yourself and trust your instinct and your intuition and always go for it. And that's what we've always done. Any opportunity that comes my way, I'm like, yes, I'll take it. Yes. I'll try. I know I'm going to do my best, and I know I'm going to give everything that I have to everything that I do, and that's all that matters. And believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will.
Amen.
Thank you, ladies. In this moment, it feels really good to give y'all ladies these flowers. Thank y'all for exposing us. Thank y'all for dressing us. Thank y'all for motivating and inspiring us. Just thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all.
Thank you for having
You guys,
us.
give them a round of applause. Misa and Bevy. No last names needed.
Are we watching Mary's thing in here? The document, is it in here? Mary's document?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Oh, and you got to get the Sun Goddess wine.
Yes,
Mary has a new wine out called Sun Goddess. I styled her for the campaign. The wine is so good. Have you all ever tried it? Has anyone tried it? Okay. Yes.
Yes, Jodine. Okay.
And shout out to Deanna Williams. Thank you, baby.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Deanna.
The goddess of Black Music Month.
The mother.
The curator. And yes, the legendary mother of Black Music Month.
And I just have to say, remember when I came to talk to you, because it was hard for me to be vulnerable, and she coached me, and we spent hours talking, and she helped get me to that place, because I was like, oh God, are you sure? And thank you so much for that. And because of you, I was able to deliver that story in that way in the remix.
Wow.
Love you.
Wow. Round of applause. Flowers, flowers, flowers. Thank you guys so much.
And thank you so much. You were an amazing moderator.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me join in on this conversation. I'm honored. Please.